Hello everyone, episodes 3 and 4 of season 2. And I think I know I was saying I'm just gonna do two episodes every video. I think after this I'm just gonna go back to one, just because it's a lot easier for me, time-wise, but with my schedule, it's easier for me to squeeze in one episode and then record instead of watch an episode and then wait until I can have another episode and then record. Watch. So yeah. But yeah. So that will change coming for the next one. But let's get started. So we first start off with we're clearly in some sort of cabin, to where I was wondering, okay, are we on a dream? Are we on the ship? And we're in the attic, where we get to see Clarice talking to the Oracle, and she cuts off its head, but the head still manages, just because it was creepy, which, same, I would do the exact same thing, no doubt. And one thing I found interestingly is that she sees herself when speaking with the Oracle, whereas Percy, when he was talking to the Oracle, he saw Gabe. So it's really interesting that this is going to be the case. It's really interesting that she sees this that way. And yeah, we're cut back to the Princess Andromeda, where Percy and Annabeth are discussing a way to, work around the prophecy, because like, Percy trusts Annabeth to do the right thing for the greater good, and whatnot. And I love that he trusts her and is still trying to work something out. And of course, Tyson's like, "Hey, yo, this ship smells like monsters," and I just love, like, "Oh yes, there's some monster smelling. That's not concerning at all." Of course, they managed to establish a code word, which is Boone. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna which, of course, that is gonna come up later, some way, somehow. You just know it will, and it does. But I find it interesting that Types is like, "Oh, that Boone sounds like a not nice," or is it Persana? One of those who are like, "Oh, Boone doesn't sound nice," which is interesting, because I've only heard Boone used as a good thing, like, "Here, let me grant you this boon to help you with your quest." Like, it's always been a good thing. So interesting that they bring up a negative connotation, which I never knew that word would have had. Now, of course, we get to see Ares again, where he's giving her the ship, and I just love how he's, like, geeking out over the warship, like. That was just, like, such an Ares thing to do. It's great. This, like, it's perfect. And of course, Ares is complaining about how he gets the losers instead of winners, which, fair. I understand that you would want the winners. Winners instead of losers. Like, completely fair. There. And of course, he gives her what he probably thinks is a rousing pep talk, but it's really just more of, like, threat, do better, or I'll disown you, don't be a weakling, And of course, yeah, of course, yeah. With that, like Clarice gets ready to new sail, and Percy and Annabeth and Tyson looking around, and Kick Body Ocean plays, which a fun story. Read about that song. I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, but I always thought that it was sorry, alright, I made a joke. I jumped to the joke. Anyway, it's Cake by the Ocean, but to me the lyrics always sound like Kick Body Ocean, in which Kick Body Ocean sounds something more like what Percy would do instead of being cake. But so yeah, no, I didn't realize until recently. It's Cake by the Ocean, not Kick Body Ocean, which I mean, they both make sense, I think. But yeah, and of course we meet this Allison, the daughter of Apollo character, and Allison plays at first like, oh yeah, I'm totally on your side, sort of thing, and then Percy, his empathy link kicks in to where he remembers Alyssa was one of the half-bloods that tried to attack Grover, which saves them from her inevitably betraying them. So she ends up going overboard in a fight, which is just great. I love it. This. And one of the things I found really interesting that they changed is that the key card is the hint that this is Kronos' ship, because it has his scythe, which I found really interesting. And of course, we cut back to Clarissa where her soldiers are not listening to her, which is really interesting. Like, they're showing that, oh yeah, she has struggles too, because, I mean, again, the books are only from Percy's point of view. So of course, we never see what Clarice is doing before she meets up with Percy Jackson in the book. So, but by then we see that her crew is like loyal to her and whatnot. So I think it's very interesting. And I'm like, oh, they're going with she had to fight with them in order to gain their loyalty. It's a really interesting take. Then of course we go back and Percy and Annabeth are fighting about what to do, and they come up with the idea to just kidnap Luke, because Annabeth is convinced that like Kronos is influencing him in the wrong, which I'm sure nothing could go wrong. And of course, we're already getting the spy teased, and I'm wondering, so, book-wise, if they're going to do, like, a fake out with Chris being the spy, because in the books, we know Chris Rodriguez works with Luke at some point, because he ends up navigating the labyrinth, and that's how Clarice finds out about the labyrinth and whatnot. So in that, so yeah, I'm curious if they're gonna be like, oh yeah, Chris ends up betraying Camp Half-Blood at the end of the series out of like annoyance that Clarice didn't choose him. So, and they're gonna go, okay, he was a spy, and the campers are gonna think that Chris was the spy, and but we're gonna find out actually no, it's not. It's Selena. In like season 5. I think that could be a really cool way to deal with it, but we'll see. And of course, them trying to kidnap Luke doesn't go well. They get caught. And of course, Tyson gets pulled away. And of course, Luke is talking, and he says, "Oh yeah, Thalia would take the opportunity to absolutely destroy them." Which I was wondering, like, are they gonna go with Thalia? Like Thalia is like Luke, or is that like Luke twisting his words to make it seem like Thalia is on their side just to get Annabeth to join him? Like, of course, they go and exploring, and we see Tyson building summons, which I was wondering, like, is that what he's going to be using to destroy, to, like, stab these people in the back? We'll see about that. And then, Luke mentions the prophecy, which he does so in the books too. It's like, has Chiron even told you what will happen when you turn 16? Of course, this is where Annabeth learns about it. And of course, so Annabeth and Luke start arguing over the meaning of prophecy, which of course Percy is absolutely confused because he has no idea. Which I just found really interesting. And then we do find out what Tyson is building. It's a bomb, so they can escape. Of course, they do this very, like, cool, epic, like, walk away from an explosion and thing. Like, that's how you do it. The way the show did it, that's how you do it. And yeah, they of course get a lifeboat, which the design for it is not at all what I was expecting, but sure, we'll go with that. And of course, we cut back to Clarice, where she seems to be channeling a little bit of Merida from Brave, where she's talking about fate, but she does give an amazing speech about second chances. I've got to give her that. Which this manages to inspire her crew and to follow her orders. And of course, this is then where it's revealed to Clarice that, oh, you've got the wrong coordinates. And so she knows that Jackson knows them. So I was like, to which I realized, oh, they're going to have Clarice go after Percy to find them. Of course, we cut back to Percy and Tyson and Beth talking on a lifeboat, to where Tyson's like, yeah, I have to help you guys, and he quotes what Sally has said in episode 1, which, I love it! So good! And then another surprising thing, Annabeth is experiencing self-doubt, which I was not. And when she's doubting if what she knew about Annabeth is or not about Annabeth is saying what she knew about Thalia is correct or not, which is really interesting to see. But at least but at this point, this is where Annabeth tells Percy what she knows about the prophecy, and then Percy, my heart, y'all, my heart. He asks what she thinks if he'll end up destroying Olympus or not, and then says he didn't wish to know about it. My heart! They just hit me right in the feels for that moment. But yeah, that is the end of episode 3. So we're gonna jump right back into Episode 4. Alright, so we open with Annabeth getting supplies, and she picks up the bracelets, which I was wondering if it was Thalia's. Which at first it seemed to be like that, at which we'll find that's not the case. Luke actually gives it to her. That we're getting more flashbacks of Thalia and Annabeth and Luke's past together. Yes, we also see where they meet Grover for the first time. Which that's cool because we never see when Grover meets Annabeth and whatnot. We just know at some point Grover met Spoon and decided to take him from Camp Half-Blood. So seeing this is really cool. Oh, like this is one of the things that I was interested in seeing with the books. Scenes we never got to see before. Or which is one was that this series is doing. Also, I love the talk that Percy and Tyson are having about prophecies. They are such brothers. They also are like chasing each other around and burping in each other's faces, which that is such a teenage boy thing to do. And then there is a giant explosion, to which I was wondering if it is Hydra time, which no, it's just Clarice and her sailors exploding them. So I'm hoping that that the Hydra will, you know what? If I'm hoping the Hydra will show up along with the Caucasus Bowls sometimes later. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be this season. And honestly, if they put them in like the Battle of the Labyrinth or the Battle of Manhattan, I'd be completely cool with that. Because, you know, that will give you more monsters to fight. Right? So, yeah, if they end up showing those there for that, I'd be completely cool with it. But yeah, we also surprisingly get an Argonaut as part of Clarice's group of undead, which I was not expecting. Which is making me wonder if we end up getting a Heroes of Olympus series, will like Annabeth and Percy mention that they met an undead Argonaut? Like that would be really cool. But yeah, we have Percy versus Clarice for single combat. It's really interesting to see. Meanwhile, Annabeth walks away, and at this point, I was wondering what she was up to. We find out shortly that her plan is to kill the members that Clarice needs. Which of course works. So Clarice is like, okay, fine, I'll let you guys join. And I will say, I do think it. Oh, also, just a side about the Hydra, I do think it's a slightly missed opportunity. That they didn't like collab with some sort of donut company for Monster Donuts. Like, you could have had such a cool like collaboration / promotion thing when this show was airing. But oh well. Also, I love how Percy he's unable to pronounce Charybdis, which is in character for him. I do think there's a couple of other instances where he's like struggling. But another thing I wasn't expecting was Clarice has a bit of like a loyalty problem where she is not willing to sacrifice 6 of her men to Scylla. She doesn't want to do that. Right, but it is like a great way to have tension, between like her, Annabeth, and Percy. And then of course, Annabeth because Annabeth has the bracelet from her past back, she's now thinking about her past more. So we get another flashback of Grover like joining them, and he does end up bringing Pan, which is a great. I think it's just a great way of like showing, oh yeah, here's what Pan can do, sort of thing. But yeah, but yeah, of course, she throws away the charm because it, you know, it Luke gave it to her, reminds her of bad feelings, so she tosses it away, but then the charm gets placed back on the boat and it starts to glow, which made me wonder why it was glowing, cause Luke says that it belongs to some sort of like goddess or whatnot. So like, I was wondering like, oh, is this actually a blessing of the goddess? Because before I thought this was this typical like, yes, here let me give this child like some sort of comfort for a lie. Like, oh yes, if you hold on to this, you'll be safe. So that way, you know, they're not scared of all these bad things that are happening. Like, that's what I thought was going on here. And doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, Percy, of course, realizes that he can, thanks to his dad, he knows what is, where they are, how fast the boat is going, things like that. And Tyson, once again, my heart, he's a bit sad regarding like why he doesn't have that Percy does, and it's okay, Tyson. You have different powers. You have different skill sets. Yes, of course. Annabeth bumps into Tyson, and he's found the charm, and apparently, he's also talking to Rainbow. Oh, which, we do briefly see a hippocampus jump in the water with rainbow-like pattern. So yes, we get to see Rainbow. I'm really happy we get to see him, because I was a bit worried we wouldn't. And with, the fact that they just jumped straight to them being on the Princess Andromeda, and that they took a boat to get there in episode 2. Yeah, also, Thalia's Aegis. Yeah, we got our flashback of Percy's, where Annabeth got captured because she went back to go get the necklace because she lost it. Of course, Thalia, Luke, and whatnot have to come in to rescue her. They're along with Grover, and we get to see Aegis for the first time, and the design for that is so cool. Like, yeah, I can understand why people would be terrified of that. It looks sick. But yeah, I really love seeing Thalia in these flashbacks as well. Well, like her person, it's really fun seeing like her personality, and then Percy finds Annabeth, and she, talks about how, Thalia sacrificed herself, how it's her fault because she got captured with, setting them back. Thalia had to save his life, and now Annabeth wants to save Percy from the same fate as Thalia to prevent her from dying at age 16. And she's afraid that, like, she can't, like, she won't be able to account for, like, there are things she won't be able to account for to prevent that from happening. Just go hit me in the field, why don't you? I don't need them. But, yeah, Percy manages to give her the confidence she needs. So yeah, she's ready to get back and fight, and of course, they start approaching the lair of Scylla, and man, they managed to make me care for these undead loser soldiers. Like, I didn't, like in the book, I didn't really care for them all that much. Like I didn't care if her crew was gone or whatnot. They managed to, but they managed to make me do that. And yeah, the conversation that Percy and Clarice have it is nice. Sort of talk about the loyalty of the soldiers, just things of that nature. And she tells him the prophecy, and she goes, "Hey, look, you can't." Like, and he doesn't give her too much comfort. He just says, "Oh, that's not that bad." Like I think he does kind of remind her, like, prophecies aren't clear. You have no idea what they can be. Yeah, very, like, what prophecies are, and, like, very... We're talking a lot about how unclear prophecies are in this episode, which, yeah. Yeah, and of course, Clarice walks away and tells, Percy, "We're not friends, Jackson." Which, look, you might not be friends right now, Clarice, but I guarantee you become friends later. And they managed to make Scylla still terrifying. I've listened to Epic the Musical and seen some animatics for the song Scylla, where that's terrifying. They still managed to make this the case. But of course, Clarice can't go through with sacrificing her soldiers, so she changes his course and goes to go fight Serapis, which I like this change. It makes her feel less of a bully character. And if we're not going to see like the short story where her and Percy become friends in their mini adventure together, this is the best way to flesh out her character. But yeah, Percy comes up with a plan where he controls the tide, Annabeth controls the winds. And Tyson is going to be keeping the ship's power. It's a really good idea. I really like it. But then, Annabeth drops the wind. And this part I was wondering, like, is this what explodes the ship? And kinda? It's all, like, it's the winds and also engine problems that we kind of see happening earlier that cause it. And of course, the episode ends with Percy, like the ship is just like slowly dissolving, and it's really cool effect. And then Percy's eyes close. Those, which I was wondering, like, is that him blacking out, or is that him using his powers? It's going to be interesting seeing which it is. But yeah, that is the episode of my review for episodes 3 and 4. They're doing such a better job this season than they did the last season. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of these episodes. And also, are there any lyrics that you guys have misheard? Or like I did with Cake by the Ocean? Let me know down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!